Spring is in the air, and with it comes the start of Major League Baseball and my favorite conference for the year, Swaay.Health Live. Hi, I'm your host, Carol Flagg, and on this episode, I talk with Colin Hung, Chief Editor of Swaay.Health, to give us a sneak peek at what to expect when the healthcare marketing community comes together in Atlanta starting May 6th. Take a listen. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of What's My Tagline. I'm your host, Carol Flagg. Spring has sprung. Baseball season has started again. My beloved Diamondbacks are back in the air, and my favorite conference is right around the corner, and we'll talk about that shortly with my good friend Colin Hung here today to unpack the upcoming Swaay event, May 6th to the 9th in Atlanta. But before we actually talk about Swaay in Atlanta, if you could just spend a minute or so introducing yourself, but then when you're done with that, you gotta answer my favorite question of all my guests, which is if you had to describe yourself as a tagline, what would it be? So take it away.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's a tough question to think
I
about
know.
a tagline, right? If we were really doing this as marketers, shouldn't we convene a committee and have a whole bunch of focus groups first to figure out the tagline?
And spend millions of dollars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Only to arrive at something you came up on the first day.
I know.
No.
Always the way.
First of all, Carol, thank you for the opportunity. This is fun. It's always fun to speak with you. You do such great work on Healthcare Now Radio.
Thank you.
It's awesome. What a lineup. So I'm the chief editor at Swaay.Health, and basically it's a publication that is dedicated to the art and science and craziness that is healthcare marketing. And so we cover on that publication, we cover success stories, we cover stories from agencies, from provider organizations, from digital health companies, from payers even, and medical device makers. And we cover anything related to the healthcare marketing function. So everything from what tech stack are you using and what's the latest with CRM and marketing automation through to patient acquisition and patient experience, digital front door, what's the latest happening with HIPAA violations, and
everybody's favorite topic.
Yeah, and chat bots and things like that. And so that's what we cover. And we love the industry, and we love covering all the great news that's happening in the industry and highlighting all the knowledge and sharing that knowledge. That's really the goal of the publication that is Swaay.Health.
And
oh yeah, now
don't leave us waiting.
So yeah, a couple taglines as I think through this. One would be reformed salesperson. It might be one tagline. Not a lot of people know, but I started my career as a salesperson. I had a quota and I had a region and did all of that kind of stuff, and then got into marketing. I'll tell that story another time, but so that may be one tagline. Reformed salesperson or recovering salesperson. Maybe that's
that's me. I want to be that.
You want to do that one? And then I think the other one is the one that I do have on my LinkedIn profile, which is Health IT True Believer would be my tagline.
Yeah. So before we talk about upcoming Swaay, let's just backtrack a little bit and let's talk about this rebranding, because the Health IT marketing conferences have been going on for over a decade. I've been to every single one of them except for the year of COVID, which was virtual, of course. Huge fan of the work you and John do. We're supporters of the event. But it was a pretty significant branding change that you guys went through. So let's talk a little bit about that before we talk about the conference.
Sure. Happy to go back, because not a lot of people know the story behind the rebrand. But yeah, as you mentioned, Carol, we for 12 years had been known as the healthcare IT marketing community. I mean, that's what HITMC stands for, is the healthcare IT marketing community. And it is truly community in every sense of the word. It was a gathering. It was, meaning gatherings, the annual conference that we had, as well as gatherings at various conferences that we would show up at together. It was just a great way to network and meet and be part of this small healthcare marketing community. There are not that many of us, right?
Yeah.
And so for 12 years, that's the umbrella we used. It was the group that we were all part of. And yeah, every year we would have an annual gathering. And it was a lot of fun to learn from each other and just see each other and not have to worry about manning a booth or like getting ready for an interview or something. So it's just a chance to kind of learn, right? Because it is very lonely being a healthcare marketer, because a lot of what we do, we can borrow a little bit from other industries, but a lot of it's very unique to us. And there aren't many groups that you can turn to for peer advice. And so that's how we grew up. But in the last 3 years before the rebrand, we noticed something was happening with the community in a good way. We noticed that there were more and more people who weren't in health IT coming and joining the community. We started to have people from the provider marketing side. We had people come from the payer side and people coming from medical devices. And every one of those people had very unique things about their healthcare marketing environment and situation. And not everything we were talking about on the health IT community really applied to them.
Right.
Like you don't talk about patients as leads going through a funnel. Like that's not how you do things over there, right? Similarly,
that we know of.
No, and it's true. We verified that now.
Yeah, exactly.
But we realized, wow, the community is growing and evolving, and having healthcare IT in the name of the community was restrictive. Like it was almost exclusionary, right? And we did ask a few of the provider folks who were coming, like, are you cool with this? And they're like, yeah, it's really great, but it's kind of weird when I tell my manager I'm joining something from the healthcare IT marketing community. Right. Then they're like, well, that's not really for you. And I try to tell them, no, it's not that. It's about HIPAA and this. And so we're like, oh, okay. So we got enough feedback to say, you know what, we should probably drop that and be more inclusive. And so that started us on the journey of moving from what was HITMC or HITMIC to the new name and the new brand, which is now Swaay.Health, which is more inclusive and more of a wider tent, if you will.
Yes. And has several meanings and connotations and all of that. So, all right. So let's talk about the conference, which is happening May 6th through the 9th in Atlanta, Georgia. You can learn more at Swaay.Health to learn more about the conference and about Swaay.Health in general. So for this year's conference, with that in mind, as you've sort of expanded beyond your IT centricity, health IT centricity, I guess, what are some of the overarching themes for this year's conference?
Yeah, I think the way I would put it is, the conference before was every session was very tuned to a health IT audience. And I think one of the biggest changes of this year's conference is we're still going very deep and very in depth in some of the topics, but we have more sessions that are tuned to different audiences and different aspects of marketing. So, for example, we have two sessions, one tailored to health IT companies and one tailored to providers that are going to be talking about generative AI and its use in marketing, right? So we have one session that's focused for provider marketers and one that's focused on health IT marketers. So in that sense, yes, now you have a choice of which one you go to, and you obviously pick one or the other to attend. But it's going to be an in-depth discussion on that topic, along with dozens of other really great topics, everything from patient acquisition and patient experience to the content marketing and PR and whether or not conferences are worth it. So I think the overall theme is we're really focusing the conference this year on topics that are relevant for this year. I don't think there's too much of this sort of prognosticating and looking down the road and what's going to be happening in marketing 5 years from now. Because I think the trend right now is that's great, but right now we got to think of a way to help our organizations make it through 2024, right? And so we've kind of shortened our horizon as well with all the sessions. So they're much more practical. They're much more grounded in best practices and things you can take back to your organizations like the day you leave the conference.
Right.
So So that's one theme. And the other one I would say is, and this is based on feedback from prior years, is we've really made a conscious effort to move away from lectures. So I think in prior years, you would look at the agenda and go, oh, like 90% of these are lectures and 10% are panels, right? Now, I would say that with our conference, we also had unconferences and things like that.
Yes.
So it wasn't quite as lecture heavy. But one big noticeable thing this year is we have very few lectures. And we have a lot more other formats. So we have like some Ask Me Anythings. We have a couple of workshops. You're putting on one. We're doing some workshops. We're doing we're doing a lot of panels, but we're also doing this new format one of a debate. So
oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So this is new, and we're going to experiment with this format. But if you remember back to high school, and you remember your teachers kind of dividing you up into different teams, and then giving you a topic, and going, and you're arguing the for, and you're arguing against, and you had to come up, even though you might not agree with what you were assigned, you just had to argue the point and do the research. That is essentially what we're doing with some hot topics. So, for example, one of the ones on the IT side is we're going to have a debate on whether or not conferences are worth the squeeze. So we have a team that's going to argue to say that conferences are definitely still worth it, and the other side is going to say conferences are not. And the whole purpose is not to pick a winner. The whole purpose is to use the debate format to explore the topic in depth. Right. And so instead of having a panel and just sort of discuss it, we're going to literally have them debate it.
Right. Right.
And yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So we have a number of those debates. Like I said, we have one that's on the use of AI on the provider side. Is it kosher to use generative AI for provider marketers? We also have some related to the use of social media. Is that still, given the tumble of X, is social media still a thing?
To X or not to X?
Exactly. So yeah,
that's the question.
So we do have a lot of those at the conference, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting. And I hope the audiences will really enjoy that.
That is interesting. You guys, I have felt right even from the very beginning that you've always really did, have a very deliberate choice that every session and track wasn't just going to be filled with PowerPoint after PowerPoint after PowerPoint and somebody up there, clicking a button. Even when you started, it never felt that way. And the fact that you've sort of really even gone to more of an extreme and more participation, right? Audience participation, I guess, and interest then. And there's, of course, a real value to having these experts. And I was looking again at the speakers you've got lined up for this year's conferences, always, all-star rock stars. But there is this real value of having a different level of engagement versus that one-way sort of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that John Lynn, he's the one who started all of this, right? So many years ago, he was the one who founded the HIMIC community, and which has now become Sway. One of his big things and his pet peeves about some of the conferences that he went to was, it was a lot of fluff. You go to the conference and people are just saying things, using some of the buzzwords, and not really saying or doing something that was meaningful or valuable for the audience. So one of the theories that we operate on is, of course, it's a zero fluff conference, right? And we used to, at one point there was even a time where he had little placards that he gave to the attendees that would hold up. You could hold up and say, "You're talking fluff." But that's the level. Like that's how deep we took that ethos, right? To say, listen, we really want to make sure that this conference is valuable for people, so they're going to come away with something that they can use.
Yeah. And like you said, leave the conference and nothing obviously wrong with, talking about the outlook and the future and like, here's the trends and blah, blah, blah. I mean, we see it all day long, right? In media and the various things that we're interested in. But the fact that you can actually go and just say, hey, next week I'm going to meet with my team, and here are 3 things that we can start implementing tomorrow, or start thinking about to implement, right? That might have a more of immediate impact.
Yeah, and that's the feedback we've gotten over 12 years, right? Is in the months after, where we see these people in the fall conference season, they always come back and say, hey, listen, this one session from so-and-so, I learned this tip, I applied that, and man, it made a huge difference. My CEO is happy now, right?
Right.
Or my salesperson's happy. Or other people come to us and say, hey, look, this person I met at the conference, I just happened to be looking for something. I wasn't at the time, but I met them and now I'm working with them. Like
Right.
whether that's an agency or a supplier or something, because they met them at the conference. So yeah, you just never know what it is that is going to be useful and what you're going to get back from the conference. And John's very famous for opening the conference with his classic statement of, give before you get, right? So, and how he describes that is, if you give yourself to the community, you contribute to the community, share your knowledge, you're going to get something back, not in a one-to-one transaction sense, but somebody in that community is going to end up helping you when you need it. And by being part of this community, that's the only way that this happens.
And I think I've always found that actually really fascinating about this community, because it's supported by sponsors, and those sponsors for the most part are PR and marketing agencies who on a day-to-day given basis are actually competing with each other for clients, and yet we all come to when I guess including me, and even though I'm not a PR or a marketing agency, but we all come together not thinking about ourselves as competitors, but as colleagues, and what's your challenge, and this is your challenge. And it's so interesting to see, I'm media, you're media, but we're talking about the same challenges. This PR agency, that PR agency, they're talking about similar kind of challenges. It is that like attracts like, and even though you might be, vying for perhaps the same clients or similar clients every single day of the year during the HIMIC conference, that always seems to sort of, be put aside.
It does. It is very collaborative, and it is probably the only place where you see, competitors, even on the health IT side, like two companies that are, competing for the same market. They're sitting in the same room, learning the same thing, even comparing notes to just go, listen, like, who do you use for logistics? Because we're getting, our prices have gone up 50%, and they'll be like, well, our prices have gone up 50% too. So if you find someone, let us know, because that doesn't help either company, right? Like, but yeah, that happens all the time, and it is so. That's why we focus so much on the community aspect of the event and of Sway itself. It is really more meant to be a group of people getting together as opposed to just a conference, right? Where you might land some business. It's not really like that. And I think one of the other things I'll say is, one of the other comments we get back all the time, to your point, Carol, is that it's reaffirming to come to Swaay.Health, because you realize that no matter what size of company you work at, no matter how much budget you have, everyone seems to have the same problem.
Yeah, right.
No one's got enough leads, and it doesn't matter if you have $1 million budget or $10,000 budget. Everyone's got the same issues with, like, how to keep your CEO informed, and how to keep your VP of sales happy. So
I tell you what, I'm my own VP of sales. I'm obviously started a partner company, and I have days that I want to fire myself. I'm like, you just did such a bad job today. Like, what do you, and then Roberta intervenes, and it's all. So obviously, people can check out. People can go to Swaay.Health and learn more about Swaay.Health, and of course check out the conference and all that. And there's lots of information on the conference site. There's speakers, the sessions, the sponsors, all that. But I would like to know, since it is a sneak peek, I would like to know, and I gave you a heads up, I would like to know 3 things about the conference that I cannot find on the conference website.
You can't. Sorry, what you can't find on the website? Oh, 3 sneak peeks of things that you can't see. Okay.
That I can't see, or that I don't know about. That I'm going to find out when I get there.
Okay.
But now I'm going to find out ahead of time.
So I think one of the biggest things that you will not see necessarily on the conference site, but you'll find when you get there, is for number 1, karaoke.
I knew you were going to say that.
Right? Like, I don't know how this happened. I don't even I don't know the history of this, but for some reason, every time we get together, every time we host the conference, inevitably there's a fairly large group that ends up doing karaoke together, or we organize something and people participate. But it just seems to be a thing, and it's not written down on any of the on the agenda or anything like that. but that seems to happen. So if you're into karaoke, good news, there's going to be a very willing group who you can go
Very
out with,
willing. Very
right,
willing.
to go and do it. And if you enjoy watching karaoke, which is the category I fall into, you're going to have a wonderful time watching people and being amazed actually at how good people can sing. Like
They all did theater. I
yeah, like
swear.
it is almost unfair how
Yeah.
good some of the people are, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but on the other hand, on the flip side, there are also a lot of people who just go up and have a great time, and that's equally fun and exciting. So you don't have to be a great singer. I know some people are like, oh, I'm not that good, right? I'm not a theater kid, but you don't have to be. There are some people who go up there and just have a lot of fun with it, and so that just happens almost every night of the conference.
I'm with you. I don't participate. I can't sing, but it is fun to watch. And who'd want to follow Stacy anyway? So just like
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Or Sarah or
Brian Mack's got a good voice.
Brian Mack, Claire Farr, a rapper, right? Like Jared.
Yeah, they all did theater. They all did theater. Yeah, I did not. I was a science geek. Hard to believe.
Yes.
All right, that's number one. Number two.
Oh, number two. Okay, so number two thing that I would say is not on the agenda that is going to happen. You are going to meet, if this is your first time attending, this is mostly for first time attendees, you're going to meet your BFF, your marketing BFF at the show, at the conference. Again, I can't tell you how many times this has happened, but every time we run the conference, the first timers will come up and say, thank you. I'm so glad I took the plunge to come. I'm glad, I'm very grateful that my organization allowed me to come because I have just now connected with so-and-so at this other company and they're going through the exact same thing. We don't compete. And now I'm going to have someone I can email or text or call or meet at the next conference. And, we can't wait. We're going to compare notes. And I hear that all the time. So this is not on the agenda, obviously. It has everything to do with networking and just opening yourself up to meeting new people. But this happens, and this is an extremely valuable part of the conference that you won't find on the agenda or anything. It's this meeting of people who you can rely on and that they can identify with what you're going through and who can be helpful.
Yeah.
That is the other big, huge benefit of coming to this event.
Yeah, nobody's a wallflower.
No,
no,
and we don't allow that.
No, it's not allowed. It doesn't happen. People will take you under your wings. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Yeah,
and that's why we have that first time attendee session now, right? And that first time attendee session, we bring in a lot of the community veterans. Some of the names we've already talked about, right? And we match them up with people who are coming for the first time, and they take them under their wing. They show them where how to navigate the unconferences, where to go for karaoke, who to talk to if you need certain advice, and who are the experts in certain areas, and they'll point them all out and make sure that they make the introduction so that you're not alone and you're not just sitting there and being a wallflower or being on your own.
Yeah. Number three.
Oh, so you're really taxing me. So number three,
could be a baseball metaphor.
Number three, one of the things I'm most excited about, and which we are doing in a new way this year at the conference, is we're actually giving away the Swaay.Health Awards at the conference this year again.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
But instead of doing it all at one time, and because we have all been in the audience, it is nice to acknowledge everyone, but it can get quite long. And and watching all these people parade up and get an award. I mean, you're not winning an award. It can get a little tedious, right?
Yeah.
So we're for the first time, we're dividing it up over the 3 days. So each morning we're going to give away some of the awards.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and so we're going to break it up over the few days. The big awards, if you will, the high profile awards will be given away on the last day. So like Agency of the Year, which we give away, Marketer of the Year, Marketing Team of the Year, those will be given away on Thursday. And as the announcer, I really enjoy that role. But what I enjoy more is just seeing the looks on the people's faces when they pick up their award. It's like affirmation, it's acknowledgement, because as we know, marketing, no matter what kind of organization you work with, is very lonely. We don't win a lot of awards. We don't get a lot of accolades. We don't get the big screen TV for meeting a quota. Like, that's not us, right? That's not marketing.
No trips.
Right.
No
So
cruises.
it's nice to get an award from essentially peers, and that's become an integral part of the event, is this acknowledgement and celebration of fellow marketers who really went above and beyond, who really did something special. And we usually try to highlight some of their work when we make the announcements. So that is something that it's sort of one line on the agenda that you'll see, these awards, and people always go, what are those? But it is amazing to see, and we usually cover them on Swaay.Health afterwards to kind of go more into depth of what they did to win. And those I find are amazing case studies, just amazing case studies of how to do a campaign, how to best use media relations, great website transformations, and so forth. So
all that, it's a very well-rounded list, and you guys, kudos for doing it. You guys started it, and it's got legs, and people vote, and that's what it's all about. Yeah. So we only have a couple minutes left, so I would be remiss if I didn't have you acknowledge. You already talked about, I talked about it, I'm not really sure, but a lot of sponsor support for the event. But you certainly have your platinum sponsors, and then the others. So please give a shout out and acknowledge, who's sponsoring the event.
Yeah, we've got quite a number of sponsors, large number this year, and they span, what I love about them is they span very different aspects of marketing. It's not all agencies. There's a lot of different kinds of companies. So, yes, there are 3 amazing platinum sponsors. The most unique one, and I'll highlight them first, is an organization called the Connected Health Initiative, and CHI. And they're actually a pseudo-government organization, nonprofit organization. And they are arguing and positioning health IT on the Hill on our behalf. Yeah. So it's sort of a hidden group. I only became aware of them sort of through serendipity. And I am just amazed at all the great work that Morgan and his team over there are doing. So basically what they're doing is they're educating the Hill senators, both in Washington and in the state level governments, on what it really means in terms of the rules that they're making and what impact they could have. And so these HIPAA changes that they're considering, what follow-on impact that will have, good or bad, on patients and on providers. And hey, everyone wants to try to ban AI use in healthcare, especially for maybe adjudicating claims. But sometimes the legislation they're considering is too wide-ranging, and it would actually ban the use of AI everywhere in healthcare, or ban the use of it for something like prior authorization. So unbeknownst to the senators and to the lawmakers, they're maybe coming up with a law that will actually hamper innovation and the adoption of some of these technologies. And so that's who they are. They're a sponsor, and would definitely encourage you to get involved with CHI if you're not already. They're doing some fantastic work on our behalf. And then, of course, we have other platinum sponsors. We have our friends over at Finn Partners is a platinum sponsor.
Good friend.
They're friends. They're awesome.
They are awesome.
Love them. How can you go wrong with that team and all the great things that they are
and
doing?
The chocolate they bring to the table. Yeah,
they do so many fun things, right?
But they always have chocolate.
They always have the chocolate.
We'll see. Yeah, I hope so.
And lastly, our last platinum sponsor is Clarity Quest, which is now part of Supreme Agency. They're a full service agency now, and they've always done some fantastic work in the healthcare space for both life sciences as well as health IT companies. And so they're going to be there, and they always do something really creative.
Fantastic company.
Yeah, they're all really good. So definitely encourage you to meet with them. And then we have amazing other sponsors as well. We have Anderson Interactive, Aria Marketing, BizStream, Definitive Healthcare, which they make that giant database that we all use, right? Vision Health, Fresh Paint. You are a sponsor. Thank you very much.
We are a sponsor. Yes.
And then we also have some very unique companies, like I was mentioning before. We have Powbox. And they make email encryption software.
HIPAA compliant email encryption.
Right?
Great company. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we have a company called PlayPlay, which makes a video editing solution. And then we have a new crop of agencies that are servicing the provider side of marketing. And so you'll see some of them at the conference as well. So just a fantastic group of sponsors. a shout out to them, because without them, we wouldn't be able to put on the conference. So thank you so much from John and myself for making it all happen.
Yeah, John is letting us know that he did see chocolate on the list again this year. Yay. Colin, thank you so much for your time today. And for everybody, please visit Swaay.Health to learn more about the conference and about Swaay.Health in general. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks in Atlanta. And I will take my usual seat at the bar next to you watching people karaoke. So.
And I'll be right there next to you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
You can learn more about the Swaay.Health Live Conference and Colin Hung at Swaay, that's with 2 A's, .health. Learn more about this show on the program page on healthcarenowradio.com. And be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn. Until next time, I want to know, what's your tagline?